What's up YouTube? This is going to be our guide on how to use Volcanion in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun me movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it in the comment section below. If you enjoy these videos, they help you out, drop a like and let's get into it. So Volcanion is a pretty decent Pokemon for sure in terms of stats and typing. It's very, very bulky as well and has a big special attack stat. Now, it has the ability Water Absorb, which couples very well with a fire and water typing, and it also can be used very good in terms of in singles for pivoting moves like Volt Switch and U-Turn, and doubles for many different combinations like Terra and like moves like Surf and stuff. So let's jump into it. So our first set here we've got, this is going to be a choice spec set. This is definitely more geared towards singles. Now, its main move, Steam Eruption, is basically a more powerful Scald. So you've got 110 base power, 95% accuracy, and it has a 30% chance to burn the Tiger. So a really, really good spammable move there. And, getting those burns around, spreading them around is really, really good. Fire Blast is good on it too. So that's a pretty good combination. A powerful water and fire type move there. So Fire Blast, nice base power, 110 base. And we've got some other coverage moves on here too. So we've got Sludge Bomb, which it gets, which is not a bad coverage move for any fairy type Pokemon and grass type Pokemon. It could be quite good for that, that too. And also Earth Power. So Earth Power is a really good coverage move on Volcanion as well. This allows you any electric type Pokemon, rock type Pokemon, things like that. Also, I like doing a combination of Terra Ground on Volcanion because you can go Terra Ground on it and then, you might be able to get someone use a water move on you and that'll heal you, right? But definitely, even if you don't get that, it's definitely a good backup for any electric type Pokemon that come in. You can also block Thunder Waves, Volt Switches, Thunders, all that sort of stuff. And you can go for a powerful ground type move on a electric type, which will do tons of damage. So EV spread, we've got 252 in health, 252 in special attack, modest nature. You just put the last little bit in defense or special defense, wherever you like it. So that's a pretty standard set there for Volcanion for singles. It's going to work pretty nicely. A couple of other move options if you want to try them. If you don't like having Fire Blast with a small sort of PP with choice specs, you can opt for something like Flamethrower. This will give you less base power. You might not miss your moves as much like that because you've got 100% versus 85. So with Fire Blast, you might might miss the move here and there, but you've got a lot more base power. So that's sort of up to you how you want to do that. Do you want more base power and hit a little bit less, or do you want Flamethrower for more stability? So that one is up to you there. So there's some other options you could have on there. I'm kind of happy with that spread there. But if you wanted to do some different Terras on there, you could opt to get rid of, say, Sludge Bomb and give it Terra Blast. And the Terra you could look at here would be Terra Fairy. Terra Fairy is always a good defensive and offensive one too. So that could be rather useful. And having a special fairy move is going to be useful against a lot of fighting type Pokemon too. Another good one to run on it as well as Ghost, because this is actually quite a good Urshifu counter. So you've got like Terra Ghost and Water Absorb, like Surging Strikes and no fighting moves. Quite a unique little counter there, especially in doubles and singles. So that's just another option you could go for on Volcanion there. You can also drop it back too if you don't want specs. You can pop Assault Vest. Assault Vest is a really good item on Volcanion. Depending, if you're playing singles, doubles, whatever format, it's a really, really top item on it. So that would be some of my recommendations there too. But I quite like ground on it. If you want to go Terra Fire, you can too, to boost up Fire Blast. Or Terra Water, they're also options, obviously, as well. All right, the next set is a little bit more well, janky than the others, and then we'll get to some double. So this is sort of one I was playing around with the other day. So a lot of the time, special attackers get shut down by a special defensive wall. So like a Blissey or more importantly, a Chansey or something like that. So I made this set sort of based around trapping in annoying Pokemon as well. So we've got Steam Eruption, obviously, and it's got Fire Spin. So Fire Spin is mostly a terrible move, but it can be used to trap in special defensive walls, and you could deal some good damage to them too. So I was thinking something like Chansey, like say an Everlight Chansey, like max health and max defense, bold nature, something like that. You could use this to actually trap them in and then repeatedly hit them with Body Slam, right? And you've also got Taunt too to shut them down for using like, Soft Boiled Wish, any recovery move. So it's kind of like an anti-special defensive wall set. And this, the EV spread, 252 in health, 132 in defense, and we've got 88 in special defense. That just allows it to do some good damage with, body press, and we've got 88 in special defense. So this is so I can leave special hits a little bit better because it's not like I have an assault vest on there. So its special defense is nowhere near as good as its defense as well. The item is leftovers. I feel like it's going to work well. And yeah, this is just a little bit of an off sort of meta-y sort of set that could trap in some special offensive walls if you're having trouble on one team. But it also can still deal out good damage there with Steam Eruption, and you could also get a Fire Spin and Burn combination going here at the same time, and you've got Body Press for some damage too. So it's not all that bad. A little bit of maybe a different way to play this Pokemon. All right, let's have a look at some double stuff. So I like my single set that I mentioned before. Assault Vest works well on this Pokemon. Now, my Terra types are going to be pretty similar to singles because they work well. And I have to note too that Ghost and Water Absorb is a great Urshifu counter, so I want to mention that straight away. Now this one is a bit of a defensive style set, which is okay because Volcanion is good. It's bulky, right? It's a nice bulky set, and we've got a little bit of a surprise Terra there too. So first we've got Steam Eruption, which is nice. We've got Heat Wave, which is going to be very good there. Not only we've got a tiny chance of spreading a burn, but we also have a chance of hitting both Pokemon, which is good. Scorching Sand. So there's the Earth Power or Scorching Sands kind of look at things. So Scorching Sands is not quite as powerful as Earth Power at 70 base power when you compare it to 90. But it has the benefit of spreading a burn, which could be beneficial. So this set is more of a support style set, right? And it's got, you've got literally 3 ways. I like it because you've got 3 ways to burn the opponent. So Steam Eruption, Heat Wave, and Scorching Sands. I think it's quite clever. So the other move I've got on there too is Body Press, because it does have a sizable defensive stat. And I think a few people sleep on Body Press on Volcanion. They look at its amazing special attack and just forget about Body Press. Whereas you can get some good advantages with that. Say if you build a more tanky set, you can rely on its good defensive stat and still able to deal some good damage then spread burns throughout the rest of the team. Assault Vest is really good on this because that makes up for its special defense isn't very good. 90 isn't all that great. With Assault Vest, it's much better. It can tank hits a lot better. So my options for Terra here, I've mentioned Ghost. Ground's a good one too. Ground is very nice. I probably wouldn't go for the whole Terra fighting Body Press. I wouldn't bother doing that. Doesn't really benefit it too much. Yeah, I'd go for one of those. One of those would be pretty good. Ground or Ghost. That would probably be... Look, you could do Water on there as well if you want a bit more damage from Steam Eruption. You can do like little things and try and bait the opponent into attacking you, but it only has one ability, so it's pretty obvious what you're trying to do there. The only benefit would be just living a super effective move. So I like Ground on there. I think Ground's really solid on Volcanion. It's a really, really solid, especially with it works well as ability too. I quite like that one. for sure. And you can also couple this with like a surf Pokemon as well. You know, I will do some teammates and stuff as the video goes on, but you know, it's good. It's good for that sort of thing. Now the EV spread, 252 in health, 132 in defense, and 120 in special attack. So this is really tanky. So we've got a great defensive stat already. We've got a good amount in special attack, so I'm going to be able to, you know, deal out some good damage still. Thanks to its high special attack stat, and we've got Assault Vest to patch its terrible special defense. So it's all around a pretty solid Pokemon there. Not a complete powerhouse like, say, a Choice Spec set, but more of a conservative like tank that can live a lot of hits, be healed by an ally with Surf, and deal out some really good damage as well. So there you go. Something like Kyogre would be really good too as a partner, but we'll get to that in a sec. Okay, the next set here, I wanted to see if we could do a 252 build in doubles, and I still think it could work. So let's have a look at it. So we got 252 in health and special attack modest nature. Now we've got Heat Wave, Steam Eruption, Solar Beam is interesting. So obviously you could run this in the sun. Obviously if you were running the sun, you could dip back on using Steam Eruption. You could go for a different Terra, and you've also got Protect as well. Obviously, these two moves clash a little bit, so you'd sort of have to decide which one you want. I just thought Solar Beam it'd be pretty cool for it to have like a grass type move, because you wouldn't really expect Volcanion to have a grass type move, and that could be a good like surprise factor. But you'd have to, obviously in that case, you'd probably have to drop Steam Eruption because it would be powered down by the sun. So I just had a thought about this set. I was like, it's okay, but I think it's going to be better as a bulky set anyway. Like this, I think that's going to work much better. Speaking of which, if you want more of a sweeping set, let's make one real quick now. I just had a thought of Solar Beam and Steam Eruption there. I had Charcoal as well to boost up its fire types for Heat Wave. So let's say, we'll scrap Solar Beam for a sec. Let's say we want like a real sweeping set here. I'm just going to make one on the spot. So I would, with a Tailwind user, right, Volcanion actually can outspeed some stuff. So we went about 180. Yeah. I think around 176 would do it, just off the top of my head. So we've got enough speed there with Tailwind to outspeed something like, it's a fast poke, like a Calyrex Shadow Rider, something like that. We've got a good amount of speed. Completely max his attack and dump the last bit into health, right? So this is going to be a sweeping set. There's not real any point putting more EVs in there. So this could be a complete sweeping set. So couple it with something with Tailwind, right? I'll give you some recommendations at the end. So we've got Heat Wave and Steam Eruption, which is nice. Earth Power. You've got Earth Power. You could even just do that. Like I was talking about before with Assault Vest. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's just a more offensive version of it that's faster, right? And you've got near perfect coverage, which is really, really good. So, yeah, I would say they're the best style of sets here, right? A bulky set, bulky support style set, spreading status, or just a straight sweeper under Tailwind. I like those sets the best. Trick Room. I just remember those. We got to have a look at Trick Room too, because this can be a good Trick Room Pokemon. That would be the last set I would say for this Pokemon. So I like that. They're definitely like solid sets for doubles. Let's have a look at Trick Room now. So obviously we want to run Quiet Nature, and you want to have as many little IVs as possible. So quite often for Trick Room Pokemon, a lot of the time, I don't mind 252 builds on them for dubs, because you're trying to sweep, right? And are you trying to live certain attacks, or you're trying to sweep? So I like putting health and just the special attack into there for Trick Room. So you could put just trying to think what should be. A Room Service would be okay, or you could just use this. You could have Room Service. I'm just thinking like some really slow Pokemon still might be able to outspeed you, but if you're not worried about that, you could just put Assault Vest on there. That would work fine. I don't think this gets Sludge Wave. I just want to have a look. Oh, it does get Sludge Wave. Okay. Maybe that could be interesting on... I don't know how you'd fit it onto that set, but you could have Sludge Wave. That is another option. The only thing about that is, you know, you're going to be hitting 2 Pokemon instead of 1. That Sludge Bomb singular targeted at, say, a Fairy type is going to be a lot more powerful, but there is that option too, which is interesting. I would couple this with something like Calyrex Ice Rider. That would be a good Pokemon because that can set the Trick Room up and things like that. So that would be a good partner for sure. Whether you're running doubles or even singles, that's going to be very good. So yeah, that's just some ideas there. Terra, look, in a Trick Room Pokemon, you might be able to go a little bit more offensive and go fire. And if you add the Sun up too, something like Groudon or Torkoal to set the Sun up could be good. The only thing you got to watch out for Sun teams is it's going to power down your Steam Eruption. So it might sound nice boosting up your Fire type moves, but it's going to be, your Water type moves are going to be very weak. Because I think the only Pokemon, like Walking Wake's like the only Pokemon that can get around that with its signature move. So yeah, or maybe you could put that onto the team as the Water type move, You have like the Torkoal, the Volcanion, the Walking Wake, drop Steam Eruption on here and just focus Heat Wave. That could be another option too. I don't know, I'm just sort of thinking some thoughts here. Anyway, there's some good stuff for you to think about. Let's have a look at a couple more. We've got a few memes here, and then we'll talk about some, some team strategy and stuff. All right, this is probably a little bit similar to what I showed you before, but I wanted to see if I could really, how much use could I really get out of Body Press, because it's almost got the same status as Special Attack. So I thought we could try a Terra fighting one for the memes, right, and see how it would go. So we've got Body Press and Steam Eruption, which is good. I left Fire Spin on there for any bulky special defensive Pokemon. You could trap them in and then spam Body Press. And then we've got Sludge Bomb for a bit of coverage as well. Health and defensive EVs, Bold Nature. Last bit of special defense there, Terra Fighting. So definitely a bit more of a gimmicky, janky way to run it, but I think it could be a good surprise for any, say, rock Pokemon or normal type Pokemon. It could be rather interesting for sure, and or even ground types and stuff too. So that's another way you could run Volcanion. Probably more suited for singles, I would say. Now, we've got to do a PIMPNITE special. We've got a physical Volcanion here. This is I actually used this before. Its attack is actually quite good. It's got 110 base and attack, but no one's going to use a physical set, right? So this actually gets some pretty wild coverage. So I thought, let's do Terra Rock Slide, right? So Terra Rock Slide. I mean, you could try it in doubles if you wanted to, go for some flinches. So we've got Expert Belt, because I've got a lot of type coverage here. So I feel like Expert Belt could work. You could also put Assault Vest on there as well. Assault Vest is such a good item on it. So Rock Slide, Flame Charge to increase its terrible speed. Liquidation, got that 20% chance to drop defense. And Wild Charge as well. For any water type Pokemon. So you got some amazing recovery, offensive, moves there with a wide variety too. I did try this set. It's mostly terrible, but it actually hits really, really hard with Adamant Nature. The thing is that lets it down is its speed though. But it was a pretty fun set to use. So maybe give that one a try if you like Volcanion. Surprise someone with a physical set. All right, so let's talk some teammates and stuff like that. All right. So I did briefly mention these, right? So we want a Pokemon that can set up Tailwind. You know how I was talking about that Tailwind set from before? You've got Prankster Tailwind there. You've got Rain Dance. I mean, this is a good Tornadus is a very good Pokemon, partner Pokemon in doubles for a Volcanion, because it can set all these sorts of things up. And you could pop signature. I won't do too much on Tornadus, but if you want to check the Tornadus guide out, I've already done that. So it's looking like something like that. You can drop speed, you can set the rain up, you can Tailwind, right? Great support Pokemon for that. you know, for any team really, and setting weather up. So that would be a recommendation. Another, well, I have to mention Kyogre, because Kyogre, you've got, you know, you could do Origin Pulse, but another idea you could run is Surf as well. I know this sounds kind of terrible, but you could have Surf on there to work with Water Absorb, you know. That could actually be interesting, an interesting sort of idea. So you could have Surf and then, you know, its typical moves, so that could work as well. That's another option. If you were going to run that, you have to worry about electric type Pokemon though. That's the only thing. So you may want to have a bit of more defensive Terra on Kyogre, like Grass or something like that. Maybe even Grounds could work on there. Terra Blast Ground. So that's another option for sure. Ogerpon's, you could even, like, I'm trying to think of some synergy on the spot. Wellspring could work too, because that has Water Absorb. So that could be another a good one with that Kyogre. See if there's any like Surf Pokemon here. I'm more thinking of like probably legendaries or myths and stuff like that. You do have, how about, I mean, you've got stuff like, how about Palkia? That wouldn't be too bad. I was just thinking that Palkia. Yeah, even like, you could have like a big, I don't know how good this would be, but you could have like a really, really big bulky Palkia set with Surf as well, healing the Volcanion. That could be interesting. I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking that Surf Tech with Water Absorb could be quite good. You know, in that case there. You know, I digress. So, some other options you can go. Calyrex, Ice Rider with Trick Room. That's going to be good for a Trick Room. Like, that's just good synergy there. Nice bulky Pokemon. And yeah, that's what you know, you can just build your team around that then, the Volcanion and the Calyrex. That works perfectly. For singles, I've mentioned quite a lot of doubles. If you're looking for singles, just pair this with like, I would pair it with like something like Corviknight. Corviknight's not bad because it's got the typing, and it also, in singles, Volcanion doesn't like a lot of entry hazards and stuff like that. So you can use like Defog and U-turn and stuff like that. You know, Roost. You know, those, I've done a Corviknight guide, so that would be a good partner for it. And then any Volt Switch Pokemon would be, you know, U-turn Volt Switch Pokemon just work well with it, you know. So, and Wish Passes as well. Trying to think, let's think of Mythicals. Jirachi. How about a Jirachi with U-turn and Wish? That wouldn't be too bad. So that could get around. I mean, they do share a bit of weakness, but that could pass Wishes on. Getting Wishes passed on to a Volcanion is pretty good. So, because like that's one problem with Volcanion, it doesn't have reliable recovery at all, and so that's why where Water Absorb comes in quite well, you know, with it. Gastrodon might be an option there as well for a partner. Let's have a look at some last minute thoughts on it. Maybe I've missed something out. I always like to double check what I've done. So, all status moves. Oh, okay, yeah. It does get Haze. I should mention that. You could probably do like a really, really tanky sort of set. It gets Will-O-Wisp. I don't think anyone's going to run Will-O-Wisp when it's got Steam Eruption, though. It seems kind of counterproductive to me. I mean, you've got Steam Eruption, Fire Blast, Heat Wave, you know. I don't know how viable it would be if you'd want to take that. Unless you specifically 100% wanted to burn straight away, then sure, you know. So yeah, it does get Haze, which can be useful on more of a, definitely a support set. Either you're running singles or doubles. Gets Raw as well, so you might be able to use something Raw there as a phaser. Like a defense, I'd go with like a bulky defensive phaser if it was for like singles or something like that. Looking at its other moves, it can set up its own rain, sand, and fire. What the heck? It can set up misty, so it can set up misty terrain. That's kind of interesting. That is interesting. let's have a look at its special moves now. Oh, I got to tell you guys some counters how to get around Volcanion too. I'll do that in a sec as well. I haven't forgotten. So, yeah, the main sort of moves you're going to see are Steam Eruption, Flamethrower / Fire Blast, Earth Power. You're going to see them every single time. Now, it does get access to some other moves like, say, Flash Cannon for Fairy-type Pokemon. I like putting Sludge Bomb on there instead, but there is that option. You've got a special defense chance there to drop. It does get Focus Blast, but that's kind of shonky in my opinion. It doesn't really bring much to the table, and it can miss a lot. So I probably would veer away from that. There's no point using Hydro Pump. You've got a Heat Wave. Now, it does get Overheat, but I mean, I know it's the strongest fire move on it. You might be able to run Overheat and Eject Pack or something like that. Like some sort of option like this. That could work in doubles, even singles. That sort of thing. Just trying to think what else here. Oh, it gets Weather Ball as well. So, okay, so Weather Ball could be interesting on like a team with like rain, and then you got sun. So maybe that's the way to get around the sun versus rain kind of team. You know, powering down your water moves or powering down your fire moves. Maybe Weather Ball's the answer for that one. If you want to give that a shot. That's virtually it. We went over sort of Fire Spin. It's Solar Beam. Yeah, you need that with the sun and stuff. No one's going to use Scald on it unless you're trolling. But yeah, that's it is quite a barren poke. Most Pokemon are fairly barren in this game. Physical, of course, it gets tons of good physical moves. It actually gets Body Press is the most used move I'd see on a physical set because it actually is a good move on it. It does have Explosion as well. I don't know if you just want to quickly get it off the field. You might be able to slot that onto like an Assault Vest set. That could be an option. Flame Charge is its singular only way to boost its speed. We had a look at my physical set that I made there. It does get Gyro Ball and some other interesting moves there, but I don't know how many of you are going to use the physical set, but I did the physical sweeping set. I think that's probably the best of it. It does get Heat Crash and Heavy Slam. It is quite a heavy Pokemon, so that might work as a mix set as well. But yeah, there's some options. How do you go about countering this Pokemon? Well, it's very, very easily worn down. One thing it struggles against, in my opinion, is Dragon-type Pokemon because it doesn't really have a lot to hit them with. Like, if it's an example, what is it really going to do to something like Walking Wake? You know, it's not going to be able to do much. Whereas this is a very high special attacking Pokemon and can hit it really hard on its poor special defensive side, right? You know, Volcanion generally has, you know, so you got Steam Eruption and Heat Wave. You know, that's resisted very badly. You're going to have to be reaching for something like Earth Power or Sludge Bomb, which are pretty weak. So that's why having Terra Fairy on Volcanion can be good as well, because you get to, like, dragons typically counter it. Just their typing, you know. But any dragon-type Pokemon, well, not any, a lot of the dragon-type Pokemon are going to be good. You know, a bad matchup would also be Volcanion. If you're not running Earth Power and you come across another Volcanion, you are screwed. So I would always run Earth Power on Volcanion, just in case for those coverage things, definitely. Any powerful electric-type Pokemon, Miraidon, obviously, you know, Miraidon. So, you know, Dragon-type electric, that's very, very bad. This is why I love running ground on Volcanion for, right? Because you can stop that Volt Switch pivot. And you can hit it hard with Earth Power as well. Works really, really well for sure. I would absolutely recommend. That's why I love Terra Ground. I think Terra Ground is the best Terra on it. Low-key Ghost is kind of good as well with Water Absorb and Urshifu counter. And Fairy would be I'd say Ground, Ghost, and Fairy are the best Terras to run on it. They're definitely the best Terras, in my opinion, to run on it. There are, like, other ones. You can have, like, Fire and Water, too, but those would be my best three sort of picks there after thinking about it for a while. But any electric-type Pokemon are going to be a problem. Any real hard special attackers as well that have, like, resistances to all these moves. I was going to say Palkia. Palkia Origin. That's going to take donkey's amount of damage and hit really hard. So, those sort of things, those sort of typings are going to cause you, tons and tons of problems, whether you're running singles or doubles and such like that. So I think that's about it for Volcanion. Volcanion overall is a very good Pokemon. It can run bulky support. It can be a speedy Tailwind special attacker with some great coverage moves, and it could also be a great Trick Room Pokemon too. So yeah, that's about it. If you enjoyed this, drop a like on the video. I think we've got like only a couple of mythicals to go now, and we're almost through them all. Peace out, everyone.